24 years after the release of Harry Potter, I finally watched the series and can update my resume for being a nerdy loser. I won't be including any polybags or CMF figures, which brings it out to a whopping total of 158 sets. Just like any other ranking that I've made, Brickheads are going to be warming the bottom of this list. My rationale for ranking one above the other was pretty much that if they look cooler and they had more in the pack, they were better. But all Brickheads are more or less the same to me. Brickheads are essentially ripoffs of Funko Pops, but even as somebody who loves LEGO enough to make a ridiculous video like this, I'd still rather own Funko Pops. Some of the sets we are going to take a look at shortly are pretty rough, but I'd even take those over Brickheads just because they include minifigures. The 11th worst LEGO Harry Potter set is the board game. I'm sure that user Clanker67 will leave a comment that this is their favorite set of all time, but for the other 99.9% of people, you probably don't care about this set. The next three are the Harry Potter for Girls sets, and if my voice gave anything away, it would be that I'm a 20-year-old male. I respect LEGO for trying something different. At least they have minifigures and they include some really interesting pieces. I'm sure that some of you are upset because that random set you got for Christmas in 2001 is this low, but as someone with zero nostalgia, these sets don't exactly appeal to me. I can respect a good sentimental bias, but I just don't possess any here. These sets were simple, but revolutionary for the evolution of LEGO. While many of the older sets are pretty rough looking, there is no doubt that they have that old charming LEGO vibe, and well, I can respect that. The next two sets on this list are the two book sets. They each include one minifigure being Draco and Neville and have a very similar build. I gave the Chomping Monster Book of Monsters the slight edge because it looks a little bit more menacing. Following the two books are the two small buildable birds. Hedwig is definitely better than Phoenix, but I'll bite my tongue and leave it at these are pretty undesirable. The next four original sets are quite similar to the ones we just looked at, but I think these ones are slightly better. Especially the Troll Big Fig in the Troll on the Loose set is incredible for 2002. The new one is of course better, but man, LEGO was cooking here. This was such an interesting scene in the movie, and having a cheap way to get the troll in 2002 was pretty awesome. As you can tell, I'm really not into the buildable figure type of sets, so these ended up pretty far down on the list. I guess it's kinda cool that the Mandrake could pass for a botanical set. As far as smaller location builds go, the Gryffindor Dorms is a pretty weak set. This set was a gift with purchase from 2021, so I can give it some slack, but we are going to take a look at a much better GWP towards the end of the video. The chessboard isn't my favorite type of set, but considering that it actually represents a rather important scene from the Sorcerer's Stone, it definitely works. This was a great choice for a 20th anniversary set. I'm not really an art guy when it comes to LEGO, but there's no denying that set 31201 is pretty impressive. The Gryffindor is definitely the best out of the four house logos. At spot 109, I just put all of the Harry Potter advent calendars since they're all more or less the same to me. I feel like a broken record at this point, but while I do think advent calendars are fun, I just don't even buy any of them. The next few slots are some more small original Harry Potter sets. Notably, the original Hagrid's hut uses paper for the roof, which looks interesting to say the least. I can appreciate a good molded figure, and here we have both Fluffy and the Hungarian Horntail. While I do think the new Fluffy is better, this one holds its ground for 2001. The concept of a set that can be carried around like a book, but then pop up into a set is super intriguing. Not gonna lie, the retail price of $68 is pretty abysmal. The Quidditch trunk is definitely the superior of the two. Spots 98 through 89 are an assortment of classes and house banners. What it really came down to for me is mainly the color scheme and the relevance. I see what they were going for here and they executed it pretty well, but I just don't think it's the best concept. There are far more interesting sets coming up very shortly. The Polyjuice Potion mistake is pretty similar to the Gryffindor Dorms, but I think this one was executed a bit better. This was obviously another anniversary set, so on top of your classic Harry, Hermione, and Ron, there's also a Golden Harry minifigure. The Borgin and Burke's Floo Network was another gift with purchase. Besides Lucius Malfoy missing leg printing, I'd say this is about as good of a set as it could have been. The Vanishing Cabinet was such creative storytelling, and it's so cool to see it represented here in LEGO. I haven't seen Fantastic Beasts, so I'm not entirely sure what scene this set is based on, but it has some very cool parts. The minifigures are pretty solid as well. From the Grindelwald to the figures to the build, it's just an awesome little set. These next 7 sets are decent, but also a little bit disappointing. For coming out in the early 2010s, they feel honestly behind their time. Compare these to themes like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Power Miners, which came out around the same time, and you'll see what I mean. Not bad sets by any means, but if I didn't know any better, I'd say these released in 2005. The Room of Requirement is a pretty bland set and is more of just a cheap way to get the mechanical Death Eater. Aragog's Lair is a decent set, but obviously is way too undersized. The name doesn't really make any sense either because it looks like a 30-piece tree. Definitely nothing close to a lair. The much better rendition was in 2024. I haven't read the books yet, I only started with the Sorcerer's Stone, but Aragog seems like something that they severely cut down for the movies, and to me he just felt really irrelevant. Also, as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, I can't help but feel like J.K. Rowling copied Tolkien a little bit. Grimmauld Place is the biggest set to be ranking this low, but it is such a boring set. It does a good job of recreating the building as seen in Order of the Phoenix, but that building was also plain, so obviously it's gonna lead to a bland set. The function where you can hide part of the building is pretty cool, but not sure that makes this set rank any more deserving than 74. The Black Lake from 2023 is a vast improvement from the 2005 version. I really like the use of sand green masonry bricks and dark turquoise arches. Okay, those are 2 of my favorite LEGO colors. It is so nice to see a colorful and unique Harry Potter build. Not to mention the minifigures are great as well. There is no way around it. That tree is pretty ugly. In this set we also get Grawp, Hagrid's half-brother, along with a few other figures. For how weird this guy looked in the movie, it must have been so hard to recreate, but they did an excellent job. Getting more centaurs is also a huge plus. Following a few random sets is 2 class sets. The Potions class is undoubtedly better than the Charms class, but they both pale in comparison to the Herbology class coming up later in this video. Really quick, this video took like an insane amount of hours to make, so a like would be greatly appreciated. Also, I have some other insane rankings on my channel, so make sure to check them out and comment what I should rank next. In spots 69 through 63 are some more buildable figures. This time, the larger scale allows these to be much more detailed and frankly, somewhat desirable. Surprisingly, I actually really like the big Harry and Hermione more than I thought. I thought the 2020 Hedwig was perfect, but then they one-upped it in the following year. So yeah, don't own any of these and probably never will, but they're so impressive for what the designers wanted them to be. While researching for this video, I noticed a pattern of forest sets with a small build and multiple high-quality figures. They also each include a unique molded animal. It was so hard to choose between the 3, but I think Expecto Patronum is my favorite set because it's like my favorite spell. This scene from The Prisoner of Azkaban was my favorite scene in the entire series before the flashback scene in the Deathly Hallows, but it is even more now. Also, the Dementors are awesome. You know that stereotype where Harry Potter is just a bunch of tan buildings? Well, I'm going to prove that that's not exactly wrong. The next 12 sets are smaller parts of Hogwarts that connect to make a huge castle. This is a cool gimmick, but individually the sets are pretty weak and they all blend together. The weakest of these is the Boathouse, as it's both undersized and overpriced. The best has to be the Astronomy Tower, as it's one of the more sizable chunks. In between are some unique elements like exclusive figures and an updated Fluffy, but the builds are nothing special. I feel like I'd appreciate these sets more if they didn't absolutely saturate the market with them. The Rise of Voldemort is such an underrated set. You got 6 minifigs for $20 back in 2019. The Goblet of Fire definitely isn't my favorite movie, but this scene is represented well here. I can't even explain it, but the 2018 Quidditch match just has amazing vibes. For being a somewhat recent set, I feel like it's a bit too chunky. I love this set, but it absolutely needs a remake. Gringotts Vault was a GWP, and it made it this high simply for its uniqueness, great use of parts, and great shaping. The Flying Fort Angelia, forgive me if I mispronounced that, is such a nice $15 set. I love getting this as a standalone set instead of having to buy one of the Privet Drive sets. This also has to be the best version of the car. Notably, they changed the color from medium blue to bright light blue, which is definitely more accurate. The Dueling Club is the perfect example of it's overpriced, but they can get away with it because it's so good. It's $25, but I felt great picking it up for $20. All of the parts are printed, and the 4 minifigures are incredible, although I would have liked to see Lockhart receive some leg printing. They omitted the backdrop that was present in the original Dueling Club, which I think was a good move. Another thing that makes this set all the cooler is that you can put it inside the brand new Great Hall. The 2025 rendition of the Night Bus is solid, but definitely not the best version. In the 41st spot is actually the motorized Hogwarts Express. In terms of the actual build, it looks like, well, something you'd see in 2004. But that being said, anything that moves is cool. If you want this set, good luck trying to buy one while still keeping both kidneys. And finally, we have come to the Herbology Classroom. This set is so vibrant and I love everything about it. The amount that they were able to pack into such a small space is incredible. The mandrakes are my favorite part about this set. The only downside is the very much downgraded Professor Sprout. Next, we have 2 different versions of Privet Drive, and the roof on the 2021 is better, but I think that 2025 is undoubtedly better. I do really like the inclusions of the Flying Fort Angelia and Aunt Marge. At the end of the day though, they aren't the most exciting structures ever. The Sorting Hat is far from the most exciting set, but this thing is so well done. LEGO must have been out of their minds pricing this at $100. They inflated the price because of the sound brick, but even then, I still think it's a $70 set. I love the curveball that they threw with the Beauxbaton carriage. It's by far the most unique Harry Potter set and feels like something from the Lone Ranger. The original Durmstrang ship is insane for 2005. While yeah, it can't compare to the new one, I love how unique it is. I'm sure you were probably wondering where the older castles would end up, and as it is in spots 34 through 31. I could see putting Dumbledore's office above the 1st edition castle, but the 3rd and 4th editions are vastly improved. All of these sets were revolutionary for their time, but without any bias or nostalgia for them, I can't put them any higher. I'm just as surprised as you are that a buildable figure made it up this high. Expecto Patronum is such a beautiful display piece. The first set to crack the top 30 is the 2019 Night Bus. Obviously, I do think that this iteration is the superior model. I honestly don't mind the gap on the top, and I think that it overall is sleeker and better represents what we see in universe. The next 2 spots go to the 2 best versions of Hagrid's hut. It was so hard to choose my favorite, but I think I prefer the bigger main hut. Believe it or not, they're both accurate because they made the cinematic decision to move his hut further away from Hogwarts and also completely changed the shape of Hagrid's hut. The Great Hall from 2018 is actually a really nice set. The newer Master Builder Series one dwarfs it, but on its own, without any comparison, this one is definitely worthy of a pickup. The Grand Staircase is a GWP done right. This one is minifigure scale if I'm not mistaken. The Hermione included is a bit of a letdown, but that's honestly the only flaw that I could come up with. The Hogsmeade Village includes some really nice figs, but where it falls apart is that outdated roof. For a set so recent, I feel like they could have done a better job. The Shrieking Shack and Whomping Willow is far from the most exciting set, but it just does everything right. Great minifigs, 8 out of 10 build, and a nice improvement from the 2004 set. The next 3 spots are going to be taken up by the 5th edition, 4th edition, and Hogwarts Express Book Nook. Honestly, tomorrow my inner ranking between these might be different, but for now, I prefer the 2018 set. The train in the 2025 set is for sure better, but I like the aesthetic of the platform in 2018's. Following the Hogwarts Express are two more sections of Hogwarts, but these are much bigger and have more to offer. The Chamber of Secrets is an S-tier minifig lineup, and I love how complete the build feels. Admittedly, Dumbledore's office doesn't possess the same charm as the original, but it is objectively better. Sneaking into the top 17, we have the attack on the Burrow. This was such a sad scene in the movie, but the only representation here are the flames off to the side. It's a great looking representation of the Burrow, but for the specific scene it's trying to represent, it definitely falls short. The Ministry of Magic is such a unique set, and I love that about it. Okay, I just finished watching the Deathly Hallows, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure where they got this from. It doesn't really look like this in the movie, but I mean, the set looks cool, alright? As far as the build goes, they kind of just hit copy and paste, but I'm not complaining. Once again is another vibrant and fun set from the Half-Blood Prince. I had a smile on my face for the entirety of this scene, and the same can definitely be said for this set. Malfoy Manor kinda feels like a generic build you'd see in Monster Fighters, but nevertheless, this build is very well done. I really like the introduction of these more expensive playsets for the Harry Potter theme, and I really hope they do more. I'll save us both the pain of trying to pronounce the name of this set. This is such a faithful recreation to such an iconic scene. As much as I love the fully completed Diagon Alley sets, I also love being able to pick and choose which ones you want to buy. Speaking of, we have another Diagon Alley set, one arguably more iconic being the quality Quidditch supplies. The ice cream parlor drags this set down a bit, but I do really like the angles that they got for the windows. We are finally stepping it up a bit with the Diagon Alley from 2011. The buildings aren't as sophisticated as the two we just looked at, but with that awesome Gringotts in the back, I had to rank it just one slot above. The first set making into the top 10 is the Microscale Hogwarts. This set is absolutely gorgeous from front to back. It is literally perfect. I'm just not a microscale guy, but man, I'd actually consider picking this one up. Another microscale set that could tempt me is Diagon Alley, released this year. If you don't have the space or budget for the minifig scale version, this is a perfect way to get the fully completed Diagon Alley. LEGO hire me because they seriously need to make a Diagon Alley book nook. I wasn't quite sure where to put the UCS Hogwarts Express. Like, it's an epic set because it's so massive, but it isn't that interesting. A 10 out of 10 in terms of design and quality, but I feel like it's a weird choice for an Ultimate Collector Series set. As a huge medieval fan, the Triwizard Arrival set is a super appealing one to me. I seriously just can't get over how good this set is. The carriage is for sure a downgrade to the first version, and to be honest, they probably should have just omitted it and cut off $20 from the price. The giant printed sail is insane, and the really stubby and squished feel is so unique. Guys, I love this set, as irrelevant as it was in the movies. They've pretty much gotten to the point where the Burrow can't get any better. I kind of doubt that they'll ever get to a bigger scale than this. I was disappointed by the lack of leg printing in a lot of the figures, but the build is flawless to the naked eye. The angle they've achieved is perfect, as well as the interior is decked out from top to bottom. Let's move on to the top 5. None of the Harry Potter sets are officially branded as Master Builder Series, but the 2020 Diagon Alley would most definitely fall into that category. This set gives off hard Ninjago City vibes, but in the dollhouse style. Ollivander's is probably my favorite out of the 4 builds, but I mean, there is not a weak link here at all. The newest Great Hall is so good for so many reasons. All of the minifigures are the most updated and detailed versions ever made, the hall itself is beautiful, and the rockwork does wonders for the aesthetic. I mentioned earlier that the Dueling Club can replace the tables inside of this set, and boy is this genius. This is the second biggest section of Hogwarts ever made, but the biggest actually belongs to the main tower, retailing for $250. Not only is the minifig lineup here peak, but we also get Fluffy, which is a must. I absolutely adore the interior and the callbacks to the Sorcerer's Stone. It is my favorite Harry Potter movie after all. These two sets combined already look so cool, and I'm excited to see how they can complete the modular build, because let's face it, the Hogwarts with a sand green roof does not look good. Gringotts is probably the craziest and most unique set I've ever seen, and for that, I was almost tempted to put it at spot number 1. Having a roller coaster go from the surface to the vaults of Gringotts is so cool. It's also awesome that you can detach it and add it to the Diagon Alley that we just looked at, but then you have nothing to do with the bottom half. Honestly, the minifig quantity is kinda slacking here for over $400, but that's about all the negative things I have to say. LEGO absolutely needs to be making more Harry Potter for adults because this set beats out 10 of the generic tan builds any day of the week. And to nobody's surprise, the greatest Harry Potter set of all time is the Hogsmeade Village. Nah, I'm just kidding. This set got revealed literally as I was recording this, so instead of going back and redoing the entire video, I'm just going to say that it would rank right in front of the UCS Hogwarts Express at spot number 8. It's an awesome set, but it also kind of just looks like a generic Christmas set. Okay. Actually, the midi-scale Hogwarts Castle is the greatest Harry Potter set of all time. Is it crazy to say that this might be a top 5 LEGO set of all time? Rivendell and Leonite's Castle are definitely better, but maybe at spot number 3? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. As much as I love being able to place down minifigs, this scale is the only reasonable size to get a full castle. Now that we have a $1,000 Death Star, I'd love to see a remake of Hogwarts, but twice this size so that we can actually fit minifigs. Like I said, I'm a huge medieval and castle fan, so maybe I was lying when I said I didn't have any bias. Thank you to everyone who made it to the end of this insane video. You can check out more rankings on the end screen, but until then, God bless.